The impossible artifact. The universal repository of xenological artifacts was the most secure and most boring facility in the Galactic Confederation. Located on the remote moon of Theseus Prime, the facility housed countless dangerous, mysterious, and historically significant items collected from across the known universe. Curator Jax Volker sighed, all 7 of his breathing vents pulsing in a synchronized display of boredom as he floated down the pristine alabaster corridors. His gelatinous navy blue form rippled with each movement, the specialized gravity harness allowing his amorphous body to navigate the facility with ease. Another cycle, another meaningless catalog update, Jax muttered to himself. His assistant, Pip, a small insectoid with bright green exoskeleton and 4 articulated arms, scurried beside him, mandibles clicking excitedly. But Curator, today's shipment is different. It's from the Forbidden Sector. Pip's compound eyes flickered with enthusiasm. Security classification Omega 9. Jax paused, his translucent outer membrane tensing. The Forbidden Sector was exactly what it sounded like. A region of space where Confederation ships were strictly prohibited from entering. Officially, it was declared off-limits due to dangerous spatial anomalies. Unofficially, rumors spoke of ancient weapons, abandoned megastructures, and the ruins of civilizations that predated the Confederation by millions of years. Omega 9. That's the highest security rating possible, Jax said, suddenly interested. In 20 cycles as curator, he'd never seen anything above Omega 7. Who authorized this expedition? The High Council themselves, Pip replied, antennae twitching. The manifest says it's being delivered to Vault 0. Vault 0, the most secure chamber in the entire facility, reserved for artifacts of universe-altering potential. Empty for the last 300 cycles. Well, Jax said, his boredom evaporating like water on a neutron star. Let's not keep our mysterious delivery waiting. When they reached the receiving bay, a phalanx of security drones hovered around a massive container, their weapon systems humming with barely contained energy. The lead enforcer, a towering reptilian with crimson scales and ceremonial battle armor, stepped forward. Curator Vorrigan, retinal, vocal, and genetic verification required before proceeding. After completing the excessive security protocols, the container's locks disengaged with a dramatic hiss. The sides fell away to reveal a suit of armor. Jax couldn't hide his disappointment. After all that security theater, he'd expected something more impressive than what appeared to be a humanoid exoskeleton. The armor stood upright in the container, seemingly designed for a bipedal species with 2 arms and a single head. It was made of a material Jax couldn't identify, neither metal nor ceramic, nor any composite he recognized. Its surface had a strange iridescence, shifting between midnight blue and deep purple depending on the angle of observation. This is what required Omega 9 clearance? Jax asked, circling the artifact. The enforcer's expression remained impassive. According to the recovery team, the armor possesses unusual properties. Unusual how? No one can wear it, Pip interjected, reading from the manifest. The recovery team had representatives from 17 different species attempt to don the armor. All failed. Failed how, exactly? Jax asked, his scientific curiosity finally engaged. The report describes different effects for different species, Pip continued. For some, the armor became impossibly heavy. For others, it seemed to pass through their limbs like a hologram. Some reported that it simply refused to be worn. Jax extended a pseudopod toward the armor, curious if it would react to his touch. The surface felt solid, cool, and oddly vibrant, almost as if it were alive in some way. And there's more, Pip added. It's completely impervious to damage. They tried everything: plasma cutters, quantum disruptors, even a miniature singularity. Not a scratch. Over the next several days, Jax conducted every test he could imagine on the mysterious armor. Each result only deepened the mystery. The material couldn't be identified. Its power source, if it had one, couldn't be detected. Its age couldn't be determined. The standard dating methods all failed spectacularly, suggesting the armor was either brand new or impossibly ancient. And most frustratingly, no one could wear it. Zix brought in specialists from across the Confederation, representatives of every known sentient species, from the gaseous ethery to the crystalline cacti. None could don the armor. Perhaps, suggested Professor Quan, a renowned xenorchaeologist with 3 brains and a singular eye stalk. It's keyed to a specific genetic signature, a security measure of sorts. But that would mean it was designed for a specific individual, Zix countered. What civilization would possess such advanced technology, yet create it for personal use? The question remained unanswered until exactly 14 days after the armor's arrival, when Zix received an unexpected alert. Attention all personnel. Unscheduled diplomatic vessel arriving at Docking Bay 3. Curator Vorrigan, your presence is requested immediately. Zix arrived at the docking bay just as the airlock cycled open. He wasn't prepared for what emerged. Humans. Humans were one of the newest species to join the Galactic Confederation, having achieved faster-than-light travel barely 50 years ago. They were unremarkable bipeds, soft-skinned, physically weak, with primitive senses and a baffling tendency toward emotional decision-making. Their only notable traits were their adaptability and an inexplicable knack for surviving situations that should, by all logical measures, be fatal. 5 humans entered the docking bay, led by a female with dark skin and close-cropped hair. She wore a simple blue uniform with unfamiliar insignia. Ambassador Imani Chen, she announced, representing the United Earth Alliance. We're here about an artifact you recently recovered from the region you call the Forbidden Sector. Zix felt his chromatophores pulse with surprise. How could you possibly know about that? The mission was classified at the highest level. The human smiled. A gesture Zix had learned could mean many things, not all of them pleasant. Let's just say we've been monitoring that region for a very long time. That's impossible, Zix stated flatly. Your species only achieved interstellar travel half a century ago. The Forbidden Sector is thousands of light years from your homeworld. Perhaps, said another human, an older male with silver hair, your understanding of human history is incomplete. Before Zix could respond, his communication device chimed urgently. It was Pip, his voice pitched higher than normal. Curator, the armor. It's activating. You need to come to Vault 0 immediately. When they reached Vault 0, the scene was chaos. The armor, previously inert, now hovered 3 meters above its pedestal, surrounded by a pulsing blue aura. Security drones circled it warily, weapons trained but evidently uncertain whether to fire. It started the moment the human ship docked, Pip explained, mandibles clicking nervously, as if it sensed their arrival. Ambassador Chen stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the floating armor. The Sentinel armor. After all this time. You know what this is? Zix demanded. Of course, Chen replied. It's ours. Impossible, Zix said. This artifact is millions of years old. So are we, said the silver-haired human. Or rather, our civilization is. He stepped forward, introducing himself as Dr. Marcus Reeves, Earth's leading xenorchaeologist. What your Confederation calls the first ones, we call the predecessors, because they came after us. This is absurd, Zix protested. Humans evolved on Earth. Your fossil record is exactly what we engineered it to be, Chen interrupted. When the scourge came, we knew we couldn't defeat it. Not directly. So we hid. We regressed. We buried our technology, erased our history, and returned to pre-industrial civilization. We seeded the galaxy with artifacts like this armor, Reeves added, gesturing to the hovering suit. Impossible to destroy, impossible for any non-human to use, programmed to awaken when humanity once again reached the stars. Zix felt his primary heart palpitating with disbelief. If this is true, and I'm not saying it is, why reveal yourselves now? Because the scourge is returning, Chen said gravely, and this time we intend to fight. With that, she nodded to another member of her team, a young male with dark eyes and a determined expression. He stepped forward, approaching the hovering armor without hesitation. The security drones moved to intercept him, but stopped when Chen raised her hand. I wouldn't interfere if I were you. The armor doesn't respond well to threats against its chosen bearer. The young man reached out, touching the armor with his fingertips. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The armor liquefied, flowing like quicksilver over his hand, arm, and then his entire body. In seconds, he was completely encased, the material conforming perfectly to his form. The blue aura intensified, surrounding him in a nimbus of energy that made Zix's sensory organs ache. Then the human rose into the air, hovering effortlessly as the armor's systems fully activated. When he spoke, his voice resonated with harmonic overtones that seemed to bypass Zix's auditory receptors and vibrate directly in his central nervous cluster. Sentinel protocol initiated. Identity confirmed. Human. Genetic lineage verified. Access granted to Progenitor Defense Network. The human turned to face Ambassador Chen. It works. The network is still active. We can reactivate the other sentinels. Chen nodded, then turned to Zix, whose gelatinous form had contracted into a tight, stressed ball. Curator Vorrigan, I believe it's time we had a serious conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy. There's much you don't know about us, or the threat that's coming. The Awakening Legacy. The Grand Assembly Chamber of the Galactic Confederation had never been so silent. Representatives from 217 species sat in stunned disbelief as Ambassador Imani Chen concluded her presentation. In summary, she said, her voice echoing throughout the vast chamber, humanity is not the young species you believed us to be. We are the progenitors, the civilization you've called the first ones. We chose to hide ourselves, to become primitive again, when the scourge first appeared 12 million years ago. Holograms floated above the assembly, showing ancient human megastructures hidden throughout the galaxy, preserved in temporal stasis fields. Other images display the armor, now referred to as Sentinel suits, being activated by human operators across Confederation space. Curator Jax Volker floated near the human delegation, still struggling to process everything he'd witnessed in the 3 weeks since the humans had first demonstrated their connection to the mysterious armor. The High Chancellor, a towering crystalline entity known as Xandrath, leaned forward from the central podium. These claims are extraordinary, Ambassador Chen. You understand our skepticism. Of course, Chen replied. Which is why we've provided access to our genetic archives and the activation codes for non-military progenitor sites throughout Confederation space. The evidence speaks for itself. And indeed it did. After the incident at the repository, human teams had fanned out across the galaxy, activating dormant structures, revealing hidden technologies, and demonstrating their genetic connection to artifacts that had baffled Confederation scientists for millennia. If what you say is true, the Chancellor continued, why reveal yourselves now? You claim this scourge is returning, yet our deep space monitoring networks have detected nothing unusual. Chen exchanged glances with Dr. Reeves before responding. Your monitoring systems are looking for the wrong signatures. The scourge doesn't travel through normal space. It moves between dimensions, emerging only when ready to feed. The young human, Eli Torres, now stood beside Chen. In the weeks since bonding with the Sentinel armor, he had changed. His movements were more fluid, his reactions faster. Zix had monitored the biochemical changes in Torres's body. The armor wasn't just a weapon. It was evolving him. The armor contains the memories of my predecessor, Torres explained. The last Sentinel from before the regression. The scourge isn't a species as you understand it. It's a consciousness that exists across multiple dimensions, using harvested biological forms as vessels. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Confederation had encountered many threats over its long history, but nothing like this. If humans are truly the progenitors, asked the representative from Axelon Prime, a methane-breathing collective intelligence, why did you abandon the galaxy? Why not fight this scourge? We did fight, Chen said, her voice hardening. For 3,000 years. We lost worlds, billions of lives. The scourge adapts to any weapon used against it. Eventually, we realized we couldn't win. Not then. So we implemented the Lazarus Protocol. We scattered our technology throughout the galaxy, Reeves continued. We encoded our genetic legacy and hid it within our own DNA, dormant until needed. Then we used temporal manipulation to regress our civilization, effectively hiding ourselves from the scourge's perception. And now you believe this enemy has found you again, the Chancellor stated. We know it has, Torres said. The Sentinel network has detected dimensional anomalies consistent with scourge activity in the region you call the Forbidden Sector. That's why your expeditionary force found the armor. Its stasis field deactivated when it detected the scourge approach. The assembly erupted into chaotic debate. Some representatives demanded immediate military preparation. Others called for verification of the humans' claims, and a few even suggested containing the humans themselves until the situation could be properly assessed. Zix found himself floating beside Dr. Reeves as the arguments raged. Your colleagues seem divided, Reeves observed. Can you blame them? Zix replied. You've just told us that everything we believed about galactic history is wrong, and that an interdimensional horror is coming to devour us all. Reeves smiled faintly. When you put it that way, there's something you're not telling them, Zix said, his sensory organs detecting subtle changes in the human's biometric signatures. Something important. Reeves was silent for a moment before responding. The scourge isn't just returning randomly. It's returning because of us, because humans have reached the necessary technological threshold again. We're the beacon that draws it. Then why develop technology at all? Why not remain primitive? Because eventually it would find us anyway. At least this way, we have a fighting chance. Reeves looked toward Torres, now deep in conversation with other officials. The Sentinels are just the beginning. The armor your team found was one of 12 originals. Each one activates a different system in our defense network. Before Zix could respond, alarms blared throughout the assembly chamber. The massive holographic display at the center of the room flickered, then showed a real-time feed from an observation post in the Forbidden Sector. A rift had appeared in space, not like any natural phenomenon Zix had ever seen. It wasn't a black hole or a wormhole. It was as if reality itself was being peeled back, revealing something dark and writhing beyond. It's happening, Torres said, his armor materializing around him as he spoke. The other humans in the delegation tensed, reaching for devices on their wrists. Sentinel Protocol. Combat configuration, Torres commanded. His armor shifted, weapon systems emerging from what had previously appeared to be decorative elements. The Forbidden Sector is 3 weeks away at maximum FTL, the Chancellor said, their crystalline form vibrating with alarm. We have time to prepare. No, Chen interrupted. We don't. Conventional space-time measurements don't apply to the scourge. Once it begins emerging, it could appear anywhere. As if summoned by her words, the chamber's lights flickered. The air grew heavy with an electrical charge that made Zix's membrane tingle painfully. A low, subsonic hum began to build, causing several of the more sensitive species to writhe in discomfort. It's here, Torres said, rising into the air as his armor's propulsion system activated. Everyone needs to evacuate now. The center of the chamber darkened, not with shadow, but with an absence more profound, as if that portion of reality was being erased. From this void emerged a form that defied comprehension. It shifted between shapes, sometimes appearing insectoid, sometimes reptilian, sometimes amorphous, but always wrong, as if the laws of biology were being violated with each transformation. Panic erupted. Representatives fled toward the exits, security forces moved forward with weapons drawn, and the Chancellor called desperately for order. The humans, however, stood their ground. Chen and her team activated devices on their wrists, and sentinel armor, similar to Taurus's, but with variations in design, flowed over their bodies. Progenitor Defense Network, activate, Chen commanded, her voice amplified by her armor. Protocol Omega, initiate. Throughout the chamber, hidden mechanisms whirred to life. The architecture itself began to transform, revealing weapon systems and energy matrices that had been concealed within the seemingly decorative elements of the Confederation's most important building. You built this chamber, Zix realized, understanding dawning as he watched the ancient technology activate. The Confederation didn't construct this place. We built it on top of one of your structures. The original conclave hall, Reeves confirmed, now encased in his own sentinel armor. From before the regression, we've been hiding in plain sight for millions of years, Curator. Now you might want to take cover. The 5 sentinels moved in perfect coordination, forming a pentagonal formation around the manifesting scourge entity. Energy built between them, creating a containment field that temporarily halted the creature's emergence. We can't destroy it here, Torres called out. We need to force it back and seal the breach. The sentinels began a complex sequence of movements, their armor glowing with increasing intensity as they channeled energy through ancient systems hidden throughout the chamber. The scourge entity writhed and lashed out, tentacles of void matter striking at the energy barrier. Zix should have flowed with the others, but scientific curiosity kept him rooted in place. He watched as the humans, the progenitors, fought with technology so advanced it seemed like magic. Their armor responded to their thoughts, adapting to each attack, working in concert with the chamber's hidden systems. The scourge entity roared, not a sound, but a psychic assault that made Zix's consciousness flicker. Several nearby security drones simply shut down, their systems overloaded by the dimensional disturbance. For a moment, it seemed the humans would fail. The containment field wavered as the entity pushed against it, reality bending around the point of conflict. Then Torres moved to the center of the formation, his armor changing configuration once more. Progenitor override. Purge protocol, he announced, and thrust his arms into the containment field. Light erupted from his armor, not the blue glow from before, but a blinding white radiance that seemed to cut through the dimensional breach itself. The scourge entity shrieked in that same non-sound, its form contorting as it was forced back through the rift. With a final surge of energy from all 5 sentinels, the breach collapsed in on itself, sealing with a thunderclap that shattered every crystalline surface in the chamber. Silence fell. The humans stood in their formation, armor still glowing, but less intensely now. Torres descended to the floor, his helmet retracting to reveal his face, exhausted but triumphant. Chancellor Exandrath emerged from protective shields that had formed around the leadership podium. They regarded the humans with a new respect tinged with wariness. That, the Chancellor said, was merely a scout, wasn't it? Chen nodded, her own helmet retracting. The Vanguard, a fragment sent to assess our defenses. The main consciousness remains beyond the dimensional barrier, gathering its strength. How long do we have? A year, maybe 2, Reeves said. We need to reactivate all 12 Sentinel systems and prepare the Confederation for war. A war unlike any you've ever fought. The Chancellor was silent for a long moment before responding. It seems, Ambassador Chen, that the Galactic Confederation has much to learn from Earth, and perhaps much to fear as well. Chen smiled, that same enigmatic expression she'd worn when first revealing the truth about the armor. Fear is a reasonable response, Chancellor, but so is hope. Humanity didn't just hide technology when we implemented the Lazarus Protocol. We evolved. We change. The humans you've known for the past 50 years aren't just the progenitors reborn. We're something new. Something I believe, better suited to face the scourge than our ancestors were. As the remaining representatives filtered back into the chamber, gazing in awe and trepidation at the humans and the destruction surrounding them, Zix floated closer to Torres. "The armor," he said. "It's changing you, isn't it? Not just physically." Torres nodded. "The Sentinel armor doesn't just protect, it evolves its wearer, prepares them. The memories of previous bearers become accessible. Their knowledge, their skills, their sacrifices. And this is happening to all humans who wear the armor. Yes, we're becoming what we need to be to face what's coming." Torres looked out at the assembly, his eyes reflecting the glow of his armor. "The question is, will the Confederation stand with us when the time comes?" Zix considered the question. In just 3 weeks, everything he thought he knew about galactic history had been upended. The supposedly primitive humans were revealed to be the mythical progenitors. Ancient weapons were awakening throughout Confederation space. And now, an incomprehensible entity from beyond reality itself threatened all sentient life. "I believe," Zix said finally, "that the universe just became a much more interesting place. And based on my extensive archival experience, Sentinel Torres, when humans are involved, the impossible has a curious tendency to become merely improbable, and then, inevitably, historical fact." Torres smiled, a genuine expression that reminded Zix that despite everything, despite the ancient legacy and the advanced technology and the looming interdimensional war, humans remained fascinatingly, impossibly human. "Then I guess we better start making some history," Torres said, as the first light of a new galactic era dawned around them.